The 2025 Kentucky Derby Trail just got a serious shakeup, with rising stars making bold statements and former favorites fading fast. From Rodriguez's electric surge to Burnham Square's heart-stopping late charge, the race to Churchill Downs is red-hot and ruthless. Who's heating up? Who's cooling off? Let's dive into this week's top 10 heat check. First, let's take a look at the Colts, who are heating up on the 2025 Kentucky Derby Trail. At number 1, we have the electric Rodriguez stamped his authority on the 2025 Kentucky Derby Trail with a breakthrough performance in the Grade 2 Wood Memorial Stakes on April 5th at Aqueduct. Trained by the legendary Bob Baffert and sired by Authentic, this powerful colt showcased maturity and speed by setting the pace and finishing with a blazing final 3/8 in 36.90. That eye-catching move, especially without blinkers for the first time, produced a career-best 111 equibase speed figure and a 101 Beyer speed figure. Ridden expertly by Hall of Fame jockey Mike Smith, Rodriguez displayed a new dimension of control and stamina, elevating his status from a fringe contender to a legitimate threat for the 2025 Kentucky Derby. Previously overshadowed by journalism who beat him soundly in the San Felipe, Rodriguez turned the tables with a commanding effort in New York. Baffert's decision to change tactics and ship him cross-country paid off in a big way. The son of Authentic now enters Churchill Downs with serious momentum and a growing fan base. His pedigree screams potential, his figures are rising, and he appears to be peaking at just the right time. Holding down number 2 is the resilient Burnham Square. Coming from last to first with sheer determination, Burnham Square reignited his 2025 Kentucky Derby dreams with a thrilling victory in the Grade 1 Blue Grass Stakes on April 8. This Holy Bull Stakes winner had questions to answer after a lackluster 4th-place finish in the Fountain of Youth, but he responded with poise and heart. Trained by a sharp barn and sired by Liam's Map, this classy gelding showed his closing prowess by surging from 9.5 lengths back to edge out East Avenue in the final jump. His performance earned him a career-best 104 equibase speed figure and a 96 Beyer, cementing his place in the Derby starting gate. Although his finishing splits of 25.82 for the final quarter and 13.08 for the last eighth may not dazzle on paper, his ability to overcome adversity and mow down a tough field speaks volumes. Burnham Square is the type of horse who will relish the added ground at Churchill Downs, especially in a chaotic 20-horse field. His grinding style and relentless kick make him a strong candidate to pick off tiring rivals late. While not the flashiest, he's as consistent and gritty as they come. His trajectory is positive, and his tenacity under pressure cannot be overlooked. Coming in strong at number 3 is the rejuvenated East Avenue, a regally bred son of Medaglia d'Oro, has come full circle on the road to the 2025 Kentucky Derby after a gut-wrenching runner-up finish in the Blue Grass Stakes. Once hailed as a top juvenile following his dominant win in the Grade 1 Claiborne Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland, this Godolphin homebred looked to have lost his way after a brutal trip in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and a dreadful seasonal debut in the Risen Star. But the Brendan Walsh trainee silenced the doubters with a gutsy front-running performance at Keeneland, setting swift early fractions and nearly holding off a fast-charging Burnham Square. Holding steady at number 4 is the promising Grande, made a name for himself in a big way during the 2025 Wood Memorial Stakes, earning 50 vital Kentucky Derby points with a hard-fought second behind Rodriguez. Making only his 3rd career start, the well-bred Curlin colt trained by Todd Pletcher was tested against seasoned runners and passed with flying colors. Rounding out at number 5 is the gritty Heart of Honor. In one of the most exciting finishes on the global Derby Trail, Heart of Honor nearly stole the show in the UAE Derby, falling just a nose short to Admire Daytona in a dramatic stretch duel. Trained by Jamie Osborne, this late Triple Crown nominee proved his quality on the international stage, surging between rivals in deep stretch and closing fast in a race that tested both stamina and heart. Though not the fastest race from a timing standpoint, the effort was full of determination and grit, hallmarks of a horse that could thrive in the grueling Kentucky Derby. Heart of Honor has been more consistent than his UAE rival and displayed a competitive spirit that suggests he belongs in top company. With the Preakness Stakes also under consideration, his connections may choose the more conservative route if he doesn't make the Derby field. Still, his game performance in the 1 3/16 mile test at Meydan was eye-opening. While he still needs to prove he can match top American dirt form, his adaptability and strong finishing ability give him an outside shot if he heads to Louisville. Now let's shift focus to the Colts, whose chances on the 2025 Kentucky Derby Trail are cooling down. Number 6. Cooling off fast, we find Barnes. Once considered a rising force on the 2025 Kentucky Derby Trail, Barnes suffered a major blow to his momentum in the Santa Anita Derby. Hailing from Bob Baffert's powerhouse stable and sired by Into Mischief, this colt showed early promise with a Grade 2 win and a runner-up effort behind journalism in the San Felipe Stakes. However, the Santa Anita Derby revealed a troubling regression as Barnes faded to last, beaten nearly 20 lengths after pressing a moderate early pace. He lacked stamina in the final stretch and finished without a fight, raising red flags about his Derby potential. With 0 qualifying points and an uninspiring final preparation, he no longer appears ready for the spotlight at Churchill Downs. The performance sent shockwaves through his camp, leading Baffert to admit, "We have to regroup." Inconsistent form, combined with the deep field expected on May 3rd, makes it tough to consider Barnes a serious threat. At number 7, the frost thickens around Chancer McPatrick. Once a promising juvenile star, Chancer McPatrick's 3-year-old season has unraveled due to poor timing and underwhelming performances. A minor ankle procedure forced him off the trail for over 4 months, and his comeback hasn't gone according to script. The McKinsey Colt ran a distant second to Owen Almighty in the Tampa Bay Derby and needed a top 3 finish in the Blue Grass Stakes to keep his Kentucky Derby hopes alive. Unfortunately, he dead-heated for last place, extinguishing any chance of qualifying for the Run for the Roses. While the career-best 98 Equibase speed figure in the Bluegrass offers a flicker of hope, the results showed he hasn't progressed from his championship-caliber 2-year-old form. Trained by Chad Brown, he still may evolve into a strong summer runner, but he's clearly off the pace in this competitive crop. A once highly regarded contender has now turned into a long shot, even for a second-tier stakes victory. He lacks both the points and the recent form to justify a Derby bid. Fading into the cold at number 8 is Citizen Bull, one of the most anticipated runners on the 2025 trail. Citizen Bull came into the Santa Anita Derby with a resume that screamed Derby favorite, a Breeders' Cup juvenile champion and winner of the Robert B. Lewis Stakes. However, the son of Into Mischief failed to live up to expectations in his final preparation. Despite leading through 6 furlongs, he faded badly in the stretch, finishing 4th and more than 9 lengths behind journalism. It was a surprising flop for a colt who had dominated his previous outings. Trainer Bob Baffert noted that Citizen Bull got tired and pointed to the track's deep surface. But excuses don't change the reality. He looked flat when it mattered most. Though he has enough qualifying points to make the Derby field, momentum is no longer on his side. Elite 3-year-olds should peak in April, not decline. The timing of this performance couldn't be worse, especially for a heavy-bodied runner who may struggle to rebound quickly. While his past wins show undeniable talent, his stamina and late kick are now major question marks. Citizen Bull remains a contender in name, but confidence in his Derby chances has cooled considerably following his disappointing Santa Anita Derby showing. At number 9, Gotham Stakes winner Flood Zone seemed to be on the verge of a breakthrough on the road to Louisville. Instead, his connections made a head-scratching decision to ship him overseas for the UAE Derby, a grueling journey that may have derailed his Kentucky Derby preparation entirely. The result was far from ideal. 7th place, 17 lengths behind Admire Daytona, and no momentum to speak of. While the $1 million purse in Dubai was tempting, the toll of travel and acclamation was high, especially when the Wood Memorial at home could have offered a less stressful path. Despite having the points to qualify for Churchill Downs, Flood Zone now returns from the Middle East battle-weary, and without a proper US-based preparation. His form looks flat, and there are questions about his recovery window. The Kentucky Derby requires peak conditioning and mental sharpness, 2 qualities that may be lacking after this detour. A poor performance overseas often doesn't translate well to American classics. Flood Zone now enters the biggest race of his life with more doubts than answers. While he's officially in the field, his current trajectory suggests he's a long shot to threaten the leaders on Derby Day. Rounding out this cooling pack at number 10 is Captain Cook, entered the Wood Memorial as one of the more consistent players on the Derby Trail. Fresh off a smart win in the Withers Stakes, sent off as the favorite, expectations were high for him to secure a Derby berth, but at the crucial moment, the practical joke colt lacked the necessary spark. After tracking the pace early, he faded late to finish 4th, just out of the Derby qualifying points range. Although he wasn't disgraced, this was his opportunity to punch his ticket to Churchill Downs, and he came up short. With other contenders surging forward, Captain Cook's failure to hit the board stings. His connections now face the likelihood of missing the Derby entirely unless there are unexpected defections. Despite his tactical speed and consistent finishes, he simply hasn't done enough to stamp himself as one of the top 20. The depth of the 2025 class demands more than decent efforts. He's a classy colt with a solid foundation and could be a factor in races like the Preakness or Haskell later this season, but in the context of the Kentucky Derby Trail, Captain Cook's heat has cooled just enough to leave him outside the gate when the roses are on the line. And there you have it. This Derby Trail is only getting hotter from here. Drop a comment, smash that like button, and subscribe for more blazing updates on the road to the roses.